Hello Gators! Well, your kit has arrived and this video is going to take you through the contents of the kit. Mainly just to make sure that you've received everything, that eScience correctly packaged the kit and included all the intended materials, and to give you an idea of what these materials are going to be used for over the next 12 weeks. So we have, first of all, you have a big old block of clay. You're not going to use all this clay. You're not going to be sculpting anything in this lab. But we will use just a small piece of just one of these bars at the very end. Pick your own color, and you can choose whatever you want to do with the other sticks of modeling clay. That's not going to happen until near the latter half of the semester. This is a prominent piece of this semester, this IOLab cart. So let's open this up first, and we'll talk about the cart and its contents. So you open it up, and this is basically it. There are all kinds of sensors that are integrated into this cart. There's a wheel sensor, there is a force sensor at the very end. You'll be using both of those quite a bit in the course. And there's also an accelerometer that's inside, and it talks wirelessly through a Wi-Fi signal or a radio signal to this USB radio receiving device, right? And so the first thing you want to do is to take this out of its caddy that's underneath or on top of the cart. So it's actually a little tricky to do that for the very first time. And what I tend to do is you can try to press on one side. If you press on the USB side just a little bit, okay, it should pop that side out. Now from here, I would actually use another tool that you were given, your multi-tool, and use one of the attachments on the multi-tool to try to get underneath of this port and to pry it up. Right? For me, that was actually pretty easy, but I remember the very first time I did this, I ended up unsnapping the USB thing, right? So if that happens, don't worry about it. You can snap it back together. Just be careful with the circuit board that's underneath, and you should be okay. Like I said, I've unsnapped mine a couple times and it still works perfectly fine. Okay, what you might want to do is, now that you have this out, you can plug this into your computer through a USB port. It's one of those classic rectangular ports. And hopefully you still have a computer that can talk to these types of USB devices. You'll have to download a driver if you're using a Windows machine. If you're using a Mac, I don't think you need to do that. You can go to iolab.science. That's the website you need to download the drivers. But as soon as you plug this in, you should see a little green light that flashes. Okay? But don't worry about that so much now. I mean, more on that later. Let's get through the rest of the kit contents. You have some other accessories that's included inside the box that's included with the IOLab. One is a very long spring. We'll use that near the next to last lab. You have a little plate with a screw on it. The screw is raised on the plate, and that can actually cause some problems if you think of this as like a pan balance. If it goes into the force sensor, right, that's really where it's meant to go, right? But it's a really small surface area, and the screw that's inside of it is raised, so that can be a little problematic. So the Physics Machine Shop has manufactured a much larger pan balance, but there is a little bit of work you need to do. You should see that this little bag contains 4 parts in it. You have the plate. It's going to serve as the mass plate. You have a screw. You have a nut, and then you have this little washer item here. Okay, so we're going to ask you to attach that screw to the plate. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Oh, come on, screw. Get out of the bag. All right, so you want the screw and the head of the screw to go into the plate so that it is now flush with the top of the plate, right? Or at least not necessarily exactly flush, but you don't want the screw raised. You don't want the screw raised above the plate, right? The side with the divot in it is the top side, and you feed the screw through the top side. Now you need to secure that screw. So next you attach the tiny washer on top of that, and then you attach the screw and screw the screw all the way as far as it can go. All right, I'm just going to do it hand tight here, but you can use, again, your multi-tool to tighten this up pretty good. And there you are. You have your Physics Machine Shop accessory for the IO Lab cart, which most of the time is going to replace the need for this. You also have some feet to attach. I didn't actually attach them or have them here, but there's some felt feet to attach to the this side of the cart. Those are going to serve as friction pads later. This is a very important tool. This is an eye hook. It's really hard to find replacements of these for the threading. The threading here is particular to the threading for this nut attached to the force sensor. So please don't lose this. You'll be using this quite a bit in the lab, for the labs. And then you also have a spring, right, attached to a screw that's going to go into the force sensor, right, for when we investigate Hooke's law near the end of the course. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the IO Lab and its accessories. Let's move on to the other things that you have in your kit. One is a tape measure. The tape measure is graded in both inches and centimeters. We'll be mainly using the centimeters bit here, right? Kevlar string, right? This is really good string. It doesn't stretch, which is going to be important for some of the activities that we're going to be using involving the table clamp. So you have this table clamp, or they call it a pulley clamp. It's going to attach to a table, and you're going to be winding Kevlar string around the edge of this clamp, and then attaching different masses to the end of the string. So we're going to pull, gravity's going to pull down the hanging mass, and it's going to move the IO Lab cart across the table. Other things associated with that are the 250 gram mass set. Right? This is a slotted weight mass set of 250 grams. It also includes a slotted weight holder as part of that. Okay, so we have some brown elastic wave cord. It's about 4 meters of that. That's for the very last lab that we do. You have a 15-link chain, right? We're going to take a look at forces that may be exerted on each one of these links in a later lab. Paper clips, tiny paper clips, larger paper clips. Okay, we're going to be using these to help with building the apparatus in a few places. Now this is another machine shop tool. This is a device that we're going to use to swing something over top of our head, right? And so this is it's called the centripetal force apparatus. It's a glass tube for that. And I believe you're also going to be using this to create a pendulum for the very first lab as well, right? So you use this a couple times. You have a stiff spring. And this is going to be for the IO Lab cart later. You have an aluminum block. Right, we'll use this aluminum block is also machined in the Physics Machine Shop. We'll use this density block. Maybe I shouldn't have told you it was aluminum. Oops. Well, you got this block, and we're going to eventually determine what the density is of this material and see, is it aluminum? Then you have a couple of different fishing weights for the centripetal acceleration apparatus. 3 of those. You should have 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce, and 1.5 ounces. And you have a rubber band. Okay. And then you have this ruler. This ruler is actually, we're going to look at the stiffness. That's really what this is for. It's not really going to be used as a measuring tool, but we're going to bend it, right? And ask some questions about what's happening inside this plastic rod, thinking about forces and their interactions between interacting atoms in the rod. So that's that. And we chose this ruler in particular because of its specific stiffness. Okay, I think that was it. I don't see anything else here on the table. And that is a walkthrough of the kit contents and a hint as to what you're going to be doing with some of these. For the first lab, for the pendulum lab, you're going to be using the Kevlar string, the glass rod, right? And some tape. Now, we didn't include tape in the kit, but it would be nice to have some form of tape, whether it's a Scotch tape or masking tape or something, to help tie one end of the string. And the fishing weight is another thing you'll need. Okay, so let me know that you've received this kit, and if there's anything that's not included in your kit, also let me know as well. There's also one more thing that I didn't show you. That is the large white plank, but you know that's the big thing that's in the long box. We'll be using that about every week to serve as a ramp, and so that we know that everyone has a kind of uniform material that they're going to be sliding the IL Lab card against, so we can get some uniform data. At least we know that it's not the table that's the problem if you don't get uniform data. Okay, enjoy the kit. See you in a little bit.